All right, guys, we're back. It's another episode of the Fearless Pursuit of Freedom podcast. That's like the 10th time I screwed that up. But we're back. It's another episode. I've got another high-level entrepreneur and my first female on the show, actually.
Ooh,
yeah.
Yay.
I'm like 25 episodes in, and he's the first female. So that's awesome. It's exciting. And I got a huge list of things to talk to you about, but let's just dig right in and figure out what you're doing, why you're doing it. And but anyways, I'd like to welcome Ali to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. So I don't know much about you or your business, but I want to dive in because I've read up on you, and it's a lot. So you started back in 2011, roughly. So Let's rewind time a little bit and see what you did before that and why you got into real estate and what niche of real estate you're doing.
Okay. So the short of it is my background was aerospace engineering. I was working in a corporate job doing that. And really, I was looking into real estate, but how it ended up happening kind of came to me. My biggest thing is when I got my engineering job, I wanted out and I didn't know how to do that. So I was looking at a business and real estate. I knew those were kind of the two things that could possibly get me out of a corporate job. And I had looked into real estate stuff, but I really didn't know what I was looking at. All I saw was like negotiating deals and finding motivated sellers and swinging hammers. And that sounded terrible. Mm-hmm. But I just kind of passively kept, I was going to like the Rich Dad 3-day seminars and just trying to learn anything I could. And what ended up happening is I ended up kind of putting the idea of getting out of corporate, not away, but to the side for a minute. I found some real estate deals that I started getting into. I was like, oh, well, this will be good, a good thing to do with my paycheck while I'm trying to figure out how to get out of corporate. And one thing led to another. After I started doing my own deals, business it started coming my way. So I went ahead and got my real estate license and I started facilitating real estate investors with deals. And it was funny because I wasn't putting two and two together that this could actually be a business and get me out of corporate. So I was doing it as like a side gig to my engineering job, and then it boomed and I ended up leaving my engineering job and now I do it full time. And my niche has been turnkey rental properties through turnkey providers. Turnkey is a term for the condition of the property. So like if you buy a rent-ready property and you have to do nothing to it and you can make cash flow on day one, that's turnkey condition. But there's companies out there who go out and they find the inventory, they rehab it, they put tenants in, they do all that for you. So then your only job is to do the due diligence, but you get to own that property having not done all the hard, more advanced dirty work. So that's been my niche. Just this year, I actually bought a local duplex to me in Venice Beach, which goes against everything I've been preaching for years. So this is my first year officially being a landlord. And I can say with no doubt in my mind, now I realize why I've been preaching against landlording. So it's been an interesting little shakeup, but now I've kind of got both ends of the spectrum. So rental properties really are my jam, but turnkeys are what I work with primarily.
Yeah. Okay. So are you providing those tenants as that turnkey provider, or you're providing the rent-ready product with the comps supporting your yield that you're saying that it's capable?
Good question. And I totally did not clarify. I'm actually a facilitator of real estate, of turnkey deals. So I actually connect buyers and sellers. So
Gotcha.
What I do is I go in and I'm kind of a boutique referral company. I only work with turnkey providers that I have some sort of direct experience with. Like there's a lot of turnkey providers out there. And one of the biggest questions is, well, who do I know how do I know who to work through? And so that's what I help with is I know these companies, I know how they work, I know their history of sales, I know their history of success. So I refer people to them. So I'm kind of the glorified matchmaker in the equation, which is even nicer because then I still don't have to get my hands too dirty.
Yeah. So like Memphis Invest is one of the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I actually don't refer for them. However, I've met Chris Clothier several times and I have so much appreciation for what he does. I love his company. I've never personally been a fan of the Memphis market, but him and I are very close, but we don't do business together right now.
Yeah. I think they've merged into our market, Dallas. Mm-hmm. And I saw him at the airport once heading off to Boone, and I'm like, I knew that face. And then I pulled up a Google image of him and I was like, I talked to my girlfriend, Ashley, is like, did you see the same person I'm seeing? And we're like, yeah, that's him.
Bigger pocket celebrities.
Yeah.
bought it in airports.
Yeah. And then I was too scared to go say hi. So I saw him, but I
Oh,
didn't
he's
say
such a nice guy. You should have.
yeah. Well, he was heading off to Cancun, so I didn't want to bother on his
Oh,
vacation. But,
yeah.
okay. So that was 2011, and since then, is that what it's been? Is that all of it since then is just providing that turnkey option for investors? So you'll go find the investors and just literally be the matchmaker, like you said.
Right. Yeah. I bought my first turnkey in 2011 and I started building the business, and I actually left my corporate job the end of 2012. So it kind of dovetailed a little bit. And then my company's now been in business for 6 years. We just had our 6-year birthday. And yeah, it's primarily what I've been doing and what I've ended up doing too is it's one thing to refer everybody, but, and once you buy a turnkey one time, you kind of know the process, but before you buy one for the first time, you don't really know like what to do or where to be or what questions to ask or what you're looking for. So I stay in for that. So I do the referring and the matchmaking, but I also stay on as a hand holder if somebody wants it. Not everybody wants it, but I'll hold your hand. I'll help you with questions. I'll stay on support. And now that I've been in business for quite a while, people have owned their turnkeys that they bought with my help for quite a while. So anytime they have a challenge or problems with that, or if they just have questions years later, they're always welcome to reach out, and I help with that also.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to dig into the term turnkey itself.
Yeah.
Because I don't think a lot of people know it. But literally the idea is the definition of it is turning the key and it's ready to go. So in essence, it's a rehabber such as myself finds a property, it's a distressed property, fixes it up in a market that is conducive to good rents. And then let's say I was that turnkey provider, I would rehab it, put a tenant in there, get it cash flowing, and then sell that already cash flowing property to an investor that either finances it how they do it, private money, bank money, or cash.
Yeah, and the only other thing the turnkey providers offer in addition to all of that is they have property management set up.
Yep.
So once you own the property, they will manage the property for you. And that's not to say you have to use that property manager. That's almost a whole other podcast episode in itself is dealing with property management. But it does come with property management to get it started. You have rights to hire or fire later. You can do whatever you want with the house. Like you own the house, but they do offer property management. So that way you're not having to be the landlord. You're just really kind of managing the manager if you even have to do that.
Yeah, pretty much as easy as it gets, really.
Yeah.
When problems arise, the property manager steps in.
Hopefully.
I would suppose that most of these investors that you connect with the turnkey guys set some sort of monetary boundary for when the property manager calls them and not calls them and such and things like that. So that's pretty cool. So they manage the vacancies and they re-tenant it and no headache. And landlording is one of those things that people think are cool and glitzy and glam because everybody wants to be a landlord because of the TV shows. And then they get it and they're like, oh crap.
Oh, I started really kind of in the turnkeys. Like from minute one, I was like, I don't want to work. That's my thing. Like if I'm going to invest, I want to invest. I don't want to work. I'm not trying to take on a second job. So I already had this idea in my head that I didn't want to be a landlord, but this property kind of came up in Venice and I went in on it with some partners and it's only a duplex and I'm the landlord and I'm like, I'm not paying a property manager when it's literally like a mile from me. And I've really appreciated the experience, but these are 2 high-end units. Like the rents are really high on them. And it's still like, I think I wrote somewhere, I'll have to find it, like in my first 2 months of landlording and all these things that, I mean, it's just things you can't even come up with. And it's like, it's constantly messing with my schedule or, for me who likes to sleep in and go to the beach, like it's really messing my, my flow up, but it's a great learning experience, but you couldn't have paid me enough to realize how intensive it can actually be. Like I expect it to calm down now because I'm filling the second unit. And once, I have some good tenant, I had a bad tenant and then all this stuff. But once I have 2 good tenants, I expect things to calm down. But it really is one of those things that people don't realize how much you actually need to do and how much you need to manage. And as soon as you need a handyman there and then he doesn't show up and then the tenant's yelling at you, it's like the small stuff that'll get you. So yeah, it's just this like, it's doable, but it's not as glamorous as people think it is.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't owned a rental quite some time. My first house I bought when I was 23. We ended up moving
Mm-hmm.
out, and I was lucky enough to get two nurses in a row, single nurses,
Yeah.
and it was just easy peasy. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it was a newer house, and so we didn't have too many problems. But the only problems, or the only time I ever heard from her was, "Hey, the fridge water filter needs to be replaced. Can you mail me one?" I'm like, "Sure." So fortunately, I got
Done.
lucky with that. Yeah, so it
Yeah.
was easy. But I have a lot of friends that are landlords, and
Mm-hmm.
I hear all those stories. And I'm on Facebook, so I see all their stories, all
Yeah.
of their friends' stories, and the
Yeah.
nightmares, which is actually interesting. That I bring up Facebook. You don't have one.
I
I
don't.
I tried to
I've
look you
never had
up,
a
and
Facebook page.
you don't exist.
My company has one, but I have I've actually heard that a few times. People have, especially podcast people, they're like, are you concerned? I couldn't find you online. I'm like, I am all over online in reference like bigger. I'm everywhere except Facebook. But it's so funny. People are like, you don't exist. You don't
Yeah,
have Facebook. I'm like, there's
yeah,
multiple pages of me on Google, but they're
yeah.
like, oh, dangerous.
Yeah, because when I was doing a little, trying to do a little research on you, and I forgot that Trevor had said you didn't have a Facebook,
Hmm.
and so when I was looking for you, I was like, "Where is this person?" And then I remember, oh, Bigger Pockets, and so then I found you in Bigger Pockets, and you're in
Yeah.
like 5,000 interactions on there or something. I thought I saw.
I
So
exist.
you chose your avenue of networking, and it's working out. And actually,
Yeah.
I got some beef with Bigger Pockets right now. They kicked
I
me out of
always
their
have beef with
forums.
bigger pockets.
I
You
know.
what? What's yours?
Well, they kicked me out of their forums,
You
and
got kicked out of forums?
yeah.
Oh, I like you so much more. Why'd you get kicked out?
Well, so when I got my real estate license here in Texas, like 2 years ago, I was in there all the time interacting and getting clients out of California and stuff, and I was representing these investors. But since I started the podcast, I was trying to like self promote and stuff
Yeah.
without having a business page. And being as Bigger Pockets have their own podcast, they don't like competition necessarily.
Oh, funny.
So, and I forget why they actually deleted me because I think they warned me like once or twice, and I forgot that they warned me, and then I went ahead and posted again anyways. And then I went in there to go comment, and it says you don't have the right to comment in these forums. You've been blocked. And anyways, they told me I'm permanently banned. And
That's hilarious. Well, if it makes you feel any better, they won't let me do a podcast.
really,
Yeah.
oh,
I'm
oh
like, but you let me write for you? Like, what's the difference? But Josh, the owner, hates me for some reason. So
really?
I kind of go with it. Yeah. It's so,
Huh.
I've never heard of someone getting banned from the forums, but now it kind of makes me wonder, there was past people that were kind of trolls, bully people for
Yeah,
years. I wonder if
really?
they got banned.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know.
Um,
I don't know if you get banned from there just for being a jerk. Maybe it's just the self promotion or the podcast competition.
yeah,
That's funny.
and I'd only done it like once or twice, but it's unfortunate.
So funny.
Yeah. Eventually, maybe I'll reach out to them, see if I can't be on their podcast, and be like, "Hey, Winky, Winky, can you unblock me or something?"
You're
And
like, hey, tuck your tail. I promise to
yeah,
not.
I won't post it. I'll see. We'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes.
That's funny.
I don't have high hopes about it.
Yeah, I
Um,
wouldn't either.
no, I like Bigger Pockets. I refer any newbie to Bigger Pockets because essentially Bigger Pockets is where I taught myself how to be an investor.
Yeah.
That and YouTube and Google searches and stuff. But Bigger Pockets is like probably between the forums and definitely the podcast is where I kind of got my feet wet in the real
Well, and
estate.
I think bigger pockets really could be hugely valuable. Like, I wonder if I had bigger pockets when I had gotten started, like what the difference in my process would have been. But I will say, especially when I started writing for them 5 or 6 years ago, 5.5 years ago, something,
Mhm.
it was very different. It was a lot smaller. Like, I stood out like a sore thumb because I was this chick from California talking about turnkeys, and everyone's like, who is this and what is she talking now? Like, I don't stand out. Like, it's a big community now. It's grown
Yeah,
so much. But I caution new people about it is that you have to remember there's no checks and balances for what anybody on there is saying. And
right.
so people are on there. I've seen so many threads, especially about turnkeys, that I know specifics about. And I know for a fact that most of the people responding to it have no idea what the actual situation was or is or whatever. And,
Right.
really, it's caused a shift in, I can see it when I talk to people who are interested in buying. People are coming in more now from a fear-based position than what should be, what used to be, what is more efficient is doing due diligence. Like if someone says, hey, here's this opportunity, in my case it's the turnkeys, hey, here's this cool turnkey, cool. Let me go in and verify everything they're saying. It's basic due diligence. There's nothing you can't verify. But instead, because people hear so many trolls and whatever talking, they're coming in and they're like, I'm going to prove this isn't legit. And they go, I'm like, what are you doing? So it doesn't help their investing. It's unfortunate because they don't know better. On Bigger Pockets, you honest to God don't know who's telling you the truth. And what's, my thing about it has always been, honestly, I know why I'm there because this is my job is to talk to people. But like rehabbers and flippers and all these people, if they're that good at it, they're probably not on Bigger Pockets.
Right.
Like, so it's my favorite quote is don't take advice from someone you wouldn't trade shoes with. Because you don't know who on there you would trade shoes with, just, keep your head about you. It's, again, a fantastic resource. But since we're both in trouble with Bigger Pockets, I can say this. But, some caution needs to be taken, I think. Right? Because it can get you in trouble or make you miss out on perfectly good opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think same thing with the Facebook groups. You don't know because you don't have Facebook. But I'm in like 400 or some odd buy sell trade pages and just bickering back and forth. But I'm in probably, 20 investment groups around the DFW area and a couple other neighboring states. But it's the same thing. You'll get people on there that they've flipped a house, they've done 5 wholesales, and now they're an expert, and they'll go in there and tell everybody how to do things and how to run their numbers when they just lost 5,000 on the last house or something. And then there's a lot of, especially nowadays, a lot of fear mongering upon, because you see the HGTV shows, everybody's getting rich, but then you get the buddy that got a rental and then he lost 20,000 on it or something, and or he had a tenant pour concrete down the the toilet or something. So you hear both sides, and then fear obviously takes over in most people. So that's the thing that sticks in their mind and not the positive side of it. And so in those Facebook groups, it's crazy. And then nowadays there's so many of the traveling gurus teaching people how to wholesale. These wholesalers don't know what they're doing. And so then they put a bad name out there and it's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
So
I even know my favorite one, a different website, Mr. Money Mustache. Is that the name of it? Something like that. There was a forum about me. And I was like, I've never even met any of these people in my life, but one of the guys wrote about how he met me at such and such meetup group or something or another. And I don't know, I did something or said something. And I actually looked in my calendar. I was like, I was never there. But he said it so seriously and so whatever, like anybody would believe. I believed it. I was like, I don't remember that event, but I must have been there. I was never there. And I'm like, seriously? You're going to give this whole spiel about how I was at a thing I was never actually at? Like, come on. Like, if you're going to badmouth me, that's cool, but at least do it because, at least pick something I was there for. But so it's such a testament to people just, the internet's great, but man, people talk a lot. And I think what you say about the fear thing is true, is that it's like the crabs in the bucket analogy where, if all the crabs you're trying to make it up and get out of the bucket and they're pulling you down because their fear and their whatever. It's, half these people online have never done anything themselves and they want to bring everyone else down with them because they're too scared to do it. So I think I wrote an article 6 months ago or something that said TMI, like, do we have too much information at this point? I totally think we do. It's just so many people talking. It brings up a whole new level of complication of how do you decipher what's real, what's not, who's, my biggest advice for everyone is to find a mentor. Like if you're in Dallas, someone starting out in Dallas, connect with you personally or connect with someone else, like get that one-on-one connection. That's what helped me through. And that was before the internet talking days, and it helped me tremendously.
Yeah, definitely. We got that in all aspects of the world right now, media and politics and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But I think in anything, media, politics, news, investing, everything, Do your own due diligence. Make up your own decisions. I mean,
Yeah.
just because you heard it on a forum doesn't mean Mr. So-and-so on the other side of that forum has any idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But you've been on a lot of podcasts, but I see here that primary specialty is teaching people how to start a business with lifestyle design. And that's through Turnkey, right?
Well, yeah. There's a couple ways. So lifestyle design, oh, it's one of my favorite topics. Lifestyle design is based on, my opinion, passive income or to some extent mobility. For example, my company, I run completely offline. So if someone says, hey, do you want to travel to so-and-so? Sure. I literally only have to take my laptop and I can go anywhere. I can work from anywhere. Like that itself opens up a huge portal into being able to design my life. I can live where I want. I can do what I want. I can do all these things. But if you really want to take it home, you add in the passive income to that. So turnkeys are one example of how you can do that via real estate. But I also actually just this year started doing business consulting so if you want passive income, if you want like the ultimate freedom, you don't have to work, whatever, you need passive income. And in my opinion, there's two ways to do that. Real estate with passive investments, whether it's turnkeys, whether it's notes, whether it's REITs, whatever it is that you don't have to be physically present for, or turnkeys, since I sell those.
Yep.
Or with business, you can start your own business. But for example, if you open up a shop where you're baking cookies, if you don't hire employees, you're going to be stuck in that shop baking cookies. So you're tied. So I do a lot with people on the business building side. I guess I've been talking about real estate for so many years now. Business is more of my excitement. Like I love talking about building business, and outsourcing is a big part of that. So if I go and disappear for a week on vacation, I have employees who take care of everything for me. Like I've set it up specifically for that purpose, so I have freedom. I just got an offer to go fishing next Tuesday, and I was like, I'm in. I didn't have to check a work schedule. I didn't have to anything because I set my own hours. I can work later that night if I want to. Worst case, if I don't want to work that day, I've got my employees who work for me. So it's in lifestyle design, it's, Tim Ferriss really introduced the idea with the 4-hour work week.
Yep.
And he did all these cool things. And there's not really words to explain how awesome it is. Like I like sleeping in. So I sleep in usually. I can go skiing or snowboarding when I want. I can go fishing next week in Mexico. I actually go to Mexico quite, like, it's so freaking cool. Like because if you really think about it, when you're tied to your job, not only does your job dictate where you live, you're probably in the car for a certain amount of time. Then you have to go work a certain number of hours. Then by the time you get home after your commute, you have to decompress for a certain amount of time. Like how much time do you actually have left in the day to do your life and to do you? Yeah. And that's really what lifestyle design is all about, is getting back to you and not being essentially a slave to your job.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. That's why I named my podcast, The Fearless Pursuit of Freedom.
Yeah.
Is I think most, I would say 90+% of entrepreneurs get into entrepreneurship to get some sort of their idea of freedom, whether that's more time with the family, more vacationing, or just not being stuck to the 9-to-5 time frame. But for me, that's exactly what I'm shooting for. I've vacationed more times than I can count this year, just because I've built a little bit of systems behind it, but I'm still working on it. And I think that's why, again, most entrepreneurs go for it. Because even if they don't want a vacation, I have one buddy that runs everything in-house, makes a ton of money, but his idea of happiness and freedom is just work, work, work. And then I have another buddy like me, we just want to go vacation full time.
Yep.
And the more exotic, the better. And the longer I'm gone, the better. So, no, I think it's perfect. It's what I'm here for. That's why I started the podcast. It's ultimately, hopefully, I mean, I'm 32 now. Hopefully by the time I'm 40, I'll be in a situation to where I'm working just because I'm bored and not out of obligation, and being able to travel. I mean, I love traveling.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know my mentor actually, who kind of taught me how to do all this.
Mhm.
He has been traveling the world for at least the last 3 years. Like he's literally in a different country every month. Like he hasn't been back in the States, I think, since last Christmas. Like he's literally been I mean, there's pictures of him in a safari in Africa. I think he was in Vietnam, or I don't know. Like I don't know how he deals with jet lag
Yeah.
on like
Right.
the logistics side of it, but he truly, it's like, how is this even possible? But because he set his business up as online and he has people working with him, he can go do that and just tote his laptop around. And it's just, it really, basically any dream that you've ever wanted to do, you can make come true with that. And like you say, a lot of entrepreneurs get into that, but where a lot of them go wrong is they basically set up their own company that they end up having to work in full time.
Mhm.
And that's cool if that's what you want to do. But you mentioned systems and procedures and processes. That is huge. That and outsourcing are what, because you're not trying to work yourself into another job.
Right.
Just because you own that job doesn't make it any different. It's, how do you set yourself up where that money starts rolling without you having to physically be present all the time? And that's where, well, I was about to say that's where the money is, but that
Right.
would be a horrible pun.
Right.
But it's where the money is.
Right. Right.
It's where the freedom is, I should say.
Yeah. The freedom. Yeah. Well, it sounds like your mentor should get on that cruise that travels 365. Have you seen that one? You can pay whatever dollar amount and you're literally on a cruise liner traveling the world for a full year.
I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like you miss out on so much with cruises because you're on the boat. I think I'm just mad because the last time I went on a cruise, I was seasick for like 3 days after the cruise. I was like,
Right. Right.
seriously?
Yeah.
I have to look into that one. I'd be kind of curious. Like, I'd be afraid I'd miss out. I'm kind of one of those, like, dump me in a country and just let me start wandering. And, like, I love the non-touristy, like, the cool finds. I always say, like, if it look really cool and impressive on Instagram, that's what I want to find. So I
Right.
wonder if the cruises do non-touristy stops. That'd be
Yeah.
interesting. I
Yeah.
wonder
I
how
have
long
no
the
idea.
seasickness would last after 365 days on a boat. I was only on one for 7.
Yeah. Yeah. I got seasick in January when I went, but it was on the boat. Once I got off, I was
Yeah.
fine. But we hit at one point the waves were getting over 20 feet, so we were rocking like
Ooh, ooh,
crazy.
that makes my stomach go bloop.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, and so it was an investment cruise, and so we're all sitting in class just doing this.
An
Right.
investment cruise? They have those?
Yeah, so I'm part of a group called Financial Friends Network,
Yeah.
and it's ran by the owner of Quest IRA. It's a IRA facilitator, and they do cruises and investment business vacations. Like, so we went on the cruise then. Um, where are we going next? So in November we're going to Portugal. It's
Oh,
we're going on a cruise, a luxury cruise on it through the Douro River. We're going to leave Lisbon and go down the Douro River.
wow.
In March we're going to Ireland on St. Patrick's
Okay.
Day, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, and in May we're going to Cuba on another cruise, and so it's all through this Financial Friends Network, and so everybody that goes is an investor in some niche that they've chosen. So they're anywhere from
So
30 to
how
200
how
people.
nerdy does the group get? Like, are these nerdy cruises, or are these like the fun, adventurous financial investment people?
They've been cool. So like when we're on the sea on these cruises,
Yeah.
there's classes all day, so we learn notes or turnkey or
Yeah.
whatever. So there's always something to learn. And then the age ranges from anywhere younger than me. I'm 32. I've seen some 20-year-olds all the way up to 70, 80s, and they're retiring, and
Wow.
they've got money, and they just are here to meet people like me. Um, but
Can you hear the car alarm?
yeah, they're
Sorry.
going crazy out there.
I live in Venice Beach. Did I mention that? This is like an everyday noise. I'm like, oh, just another car alarm.
Yeah, yeah. But the cruise in Portugal and the St. Patrick's Day one, the Ireland one, we're gonna have like classes so we can write it off, but it's more of get together, hang out, tour the country for a week, and then book it back. And so we'll have like a class or two in that time frame, so that way we can write it off. But just a bunch of investors getting together and hanging out and traveling the world, and it's pretty sweet.
That's so cool. I've muted you for a minute. It's
Yeah.
not stopping. Um, That's so cool because then you end up meeting like a community of like-minded people, and then you can
Yeah.
travel. It's not just about like the learnings, and hello, you get to write off a cruise.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, it's been pretty cool. It's been pretty cool.
Nice.
The trips aren't overly expensive. The Portugal one is going to be pretty expensive. Just it's going to end up being a luxury cruise liner, so it's kind of pricey. But like the one in May to Cuba, I'm bringing both me, my girlfriend, and both my kids for like $3,000. So on a week, or a full week, and we're going down to I forget. We're hitting like Honduras, a couple Mexico locations, in Cuba. So it'll be pretty cool. Anyways, yeah, a bunch of investors getting together, and they're all, for the most part, like-minded. You know, we all got into investments for some reason or another, but mostly it's spend time with family and travel and freedom. So
cool.
Yeah, it's been pretty
Why
cool.
we do this.
Yeah, exactly. So what do you plan on doing in the coming future? Just keep with the turnkey? Do you have anything in mind that you'd want to like branch off into?
Well, right now I'm keeping my eyes open for other opportunities. It's a little tough with my requirement of not wanting to do a lot of work. There's only so many things I can do in that. The thing with turnkeys right now, there's still really good ones, but nothing's on sale right now. So while there's great opportunities, we're still selling plenty of properties. I would venture to say that the excitement level is a little down. Just because it's, when things are on sale, when I started buying in 2011, the sales, if you will, like my first turnkey property, 2-story, cute little house. I don't remember square footage. Good area. It was making $1,000 a month in rent. It cost me $55,000. And that was exciting. It's like, it's like Christmas. And so for quite a few years, it felt like Christmas. And now it's not so much like Christmas. So turnkeys are fine. They're doing good. They're doing steady. People are intending on a crash right now. I, have some opinions about that, but you can still buy good deals. There's still cash flow out there. And so while those are still trucking along, I'm just kind of keeping an eye out for other things. But the big thing I'm working on right now is I'm finally writing a book. I wrote my Turnkeys 101 ebook 4 years ago or something. We've been selling that the whole time. But I've always wanted to write a real book. And my first one is going to be real estate based. I figured I could convince someone why they should listen to me if I write about real estate versus I want to talk about business and lifestyle design and all this kind of stuff. So I'm just going to do a basic, I've started about halfway through right now, and it's kind of a mindset thing. It's kind of like hey, guess what? Like, it's not the old fashioned real estate investing. You don't have to just go swing a hammer and, like, how do you know what to get involved in? There's different strategies and all that kind of stuff. And, just kind of busting myths. And so I'm halfway through that. I'm hoping to have that done by the end of the year. And we'll just kind of see where it goes from there. But just kind of, and landlording this duplex down the street, which I love. But man, it's been tiring. Holy cow. It's about to slow down and be pretty calm. But so I'm just kind of always trying to find the next adventure.
Have you thought about doing Airbnb or rental Airbnb arbitrage? Have you heard of that?
I've not heard about the arbitrage part. I have thought about Airbnb. Like this property in Venice, I could easily Airbnb. And that was one of the motivations because right now it's negative cash flow. It was expensive. It's negative cash flow. But the idea is long-term, I'll probably live in one of the units. And there's always Airbnb because of where it is. There's so many options with it. So on that front, I've considered it. But as far as like buying properties around here right now, it doesn't make sense financially, but I know people are doing it in other cities. I'd say the only caution and reservation I have about it is a lot of cities are trying to ban Airbnb. And I don't know, I would say that if you're going to buy a property for Airbnb, make sure you have a backup plan just in case Airbnb goes away in that area. But, it's not really been something on the forefront of my mind because then I would have to develop systems and all that to do that. Because when you do a short-term rental, you have to constantly get it cleaned, and yeah, you can hire the cleaning company or the maintenance company or whatever, but it's busy work versus having a long-term tenant. You only have to show up when the toilet breaks or whatever it is. So,
Yep.
There's definitely some worth there, but definitely some considerations I'd encourage people to look at too.
Yeah. Well, the reason I mentioned that because being in Venice Beach, there's the beach, and the Airbnb model were great there. But
Huge.
yeah, I have a buddy that I think he manages 6 now virtually. He has VAs
Yeah.
that do the scheduling, the cleaning, the
Yeah.
you manage the janitorial work and everything.
Yep.
But the rental arbitrage, which I think you'll think is interesting, there's still that management aspect of it, of managing
Right.
the Airbnb model. But essentially what you do is you say, let's say you don't own this duplex here, but you know somebody that owns a duplex and they're renting it out. So you go in, you sign that lease, and then sublease it as an Airbnb.
Yeah.
So you pay, say, $2,000, while you go rent it out for $300 a night, and you make
Yeah.
the difference between the $2,000 and the $6,000 in rental income off that thing. So Airbnb.
Yeah, here pretty much every landlord now has a specific clause that you cannot do that. I'm in a kind of a courtyard type of thing, and the building next to me, the guys rented it as long-term tenants, and then they were doing that, and they got so busted. So like LA, and again, this is very specific to location. Venice Beach, LA, like it's hard. Like Venice specifically, you almost can't get away with that anymore because people got so hip to the game. Because in Venice, like you say, it's a fantastic Airbnb market. Like you really can't get better for where you could Airbnb things, but the landlords very quickly picked up on that. And I would love to Airbnb my little unit here. I'm a block in from the beach. Like it'd be great, especially when I'm traveling, to Airbnb it and get some extra income.
Yeah.
Not even a chance around here. So again, that's kind of a hard thing is, whether it's location specific or landlords, but you just have to be careful of so I've seen so many people get kicked out and evicted because they were doing that.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say a victim, but I remember at one point I did go to San Diego, and we were getting in an Airbnb, and I felt this little like fishy, something's going weird here. This is before I was even in real estate, and then I discovered he was subleasing it, and that was actually where he lived, because we found his personal items in the closet, and we're like, whoa, this is kind of creepy.
Yep.
But so I mean, there's definitely pros and cons. Cons being what we discussed here, obviously, and then the pros is you're not out of the capital of buying a $200,000-$500,000
right
unit to own an Airbnb out. But
and with any strategy, especially if you're brand new and you're on bigger pockets and you're exploring and you hear all these things like Airbnb, rental properties, flipping, rehabbing, wholesale, you hear so many options. It's really like my best advice for anyone is to, like, we just talked about Airbnb. Okay, cool. What are the logistics of that? Like, what are the pros? What are the cons? Where are the risks? And if you can do that with each little strategy, and you could even put like on a scale of 1 to 10, how much my time is going to be involved. And like Airbnb is really cool because my impression, we actually almost bought, I think it was a 8-plex in Santa Monica. We can't Airbnb in Santa Monica because they've already outlawed it, but it was going to be a vacation kind of rental thing. And my idea of it was, if I get my hands dirty and I figure it all out in the beginning, then I can progressively develop the systems to do like what your friend does. So it's totally virtual.
Yeah.
But so like how much of my time is going to be involved? Okay, cool for that. How much effort, like really kind of like rank things for each strategy and figure out which one fits what you're wanting to do the best. And I think that's one of the best things anybody could do. And some people come to me and they're like, hey, I think I'm interested in a turnkey. And I'll be the first person to tell you, I don't think turnkeys are for you. Like if you said, hey, I'm thinking about turnkey, like, no, you're not. You're a rehabber. Don't buy a turnkey. Like it's, there's different things for different people, and, exploring that and figuring that out for yourself first all day long will increase your success.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. I mean, especially in real estate, there's a million different avenues, like you said, and it's all dependent upon, ultimately what's your end goal, financially and time wise. Those two coincide very closely, but I mean, there's probably 50 different investment strategies in real estate.
Oh, and of those 50, there's probably like 50 different
Little
subsets of that one,
niches
and
of it,
then
right?
50 ways to do each one.
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
is kind of the cool thing about real estate, because you can literally make it what you want it. Like, you can
yep,
do it your way. You can do it any way you want to, but it makes it a little harder to learn too. Plus, none of us learned it in school. So it's
yeah,
like, I'm starting fresh. There's about 2,500 different ways I could do something. That sounds cool, except how do I get started?
right.
It's kind of the famous burning question.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and then typically everybody leans towards the what's hot and sexy on TV, whatever HGTV is doing, or
Oh,
whatever they see
no,
in the
the
forums.
HGTV thing, I've heard from so many people. It just has put this idea in everyone's head that they should go flip houses. It's a
Yeah,
disaster.
yeah, right.
like guys, it's on television. They're not showing like,
Well,
oh
yeah, they're not so well. They may show some of the things that go wrong in the rehab, but their numbers are always wrong. They don't
yeah,
calculate in holding costs, utility costs, closing costs, realtor fees. They don't calculate all these. So they'll show a purchase price of 130 and a sale of 260, and they're like, oh, they
yeah,
made 130,000. But no, not
no,
really.
sure didn't. And
Right.
they don't show, like, even if there's a problem with the rehab. Like, I know my experience of managing contractors, even managing my handyman, whatever it is, just the behind the scenes of that management
Mhm.
is exhausting sometimes. Like, I know in my case, and I don't know that this is true for everyone, like, for example, if I take my car to a mechanic, I don't know how to work on my own car, so I can't help myself. Like, if
Right.
they're just giving me the runaround, I don't really have the power to help to do anything. And kind of for me with the handyman, it's the same thing, where I'm a little handier in a house than I am with a car, but I can't what's the word, like, finish the flooring, for example. I can't do that myself. And when
Mhm.
you have to rely on other people to do it, A, to get them to do it to your standards, B, on schedule. And it's just like, and that, like I said, I have had more times where my handyman tells the tenant he'll show up at a certain time. They wait on him. He doesn't show up. They contact me. I try and contact him. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's not big stuff, but it's the little stuff that just, it's constant. And so, they don't show the
Mm.
management of the people on the shows, in my opinion. And that's where the frustration can really be.
Yeah. Yeah. And management of the people is probably, I would say, 90% of any
Easily.
investment strategy is the headache there.
Yeah.
I'd say that's the same thing in probably just about every business on the face of this
Can
planet
you
is the
imagine an
management of people.
HGTV show based on, like, that emphasizes the management of the people?
Yeah. Everybody would
That
stop
would
flipping.
be phenomenal.
Yeah. I should do that so I have less competition.
You should totally do that. I
Right.
remember when I first got in real estate, I remember telling someone, I was like, if I've learned nothing else in real estate, I have lost all faith in humanity.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, real estate somehow brings out the crazy people. I mean, there's crazy people everywhere, but
Mhm.
something about real estate attracts a lot of them, I think. And so it's just like, you know, oh, it's constant. I have never dealt with human relations as much as I have since I got in real estate. It's
Yeah.
hilarious when I look back on it, but in the moment, it can be so frustrating.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I've been there, done that. Every single house, something goes wrong.
Yep.
In my first one, I went through 4 plumbers, 3 different texturing people. One guy staying up. He's texturing till 3, 4 in the morning and only gets one room done. And then I discover he's doing drugs in the house. I'm like, what in the world is going wrong here? I mean,
Yeah.
what did I just
I'm
get
like,
myself
look,
into?
if you're gonna do cocaine and it's gonna speed up your progress,
That's cool.
cool.
Yeah.
But, like,
Get
make
it
it work
done.
for me here.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and I tell people, like, a lot of people, especially in bigger pockets, want to argue against turnkeys. Like, a lot of people just hate them. And the reality is that
Strange.
you're gonna pay market value for a turnkey. So
Yeah.
where that really gets people's panties in a wad is that we're all taught to believe, which is true, but you buy a distressed property, you fix it
Mhm.
up, you force the appreciation, and that's where the profit is,
Yeah.
which that is absolutely a valid case. But with a turnkey, so you can't do that with a turnkey. You can't force
Right.
the appreciation. So people are like, alert, alert, and they just hate it.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
It's a
so
yield
people
play
are like,
though.
I'm gonna go do it myself. But just like you're saying, 3 plumbers, however many drywall, that's cool if you want to go do it yourself, but
Mhm.
people don't realize how much the turnkey provider is doing for you. They're the ones dealing with all of those headaches. You
Mhm.
only have to do due diligence to ensure everything's as advertised. like when you open up the door to do it yourself, if you can and you have the skill and the interest, all day long, don't buy a turnkey, go do it yourself. But if you don't and you don't know what that entails, you're going to be in for a wild freaking ride. Like you said earlier, you had a rental property that didn't need a lot of work. This duplex hardly needed work, and I feel like I've been doing work on it for 6 months. It's like, so people are fast to knock the turnkeys, but I'm like, hey, just hearing these stories, I'm like, really glad someone else does that for me.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to do any of it.
Yeah, I'd say most turnkey buyers are the 9-to-5ers that have a little bit of money in the bank. They're tired of stocks, whatever. They're there to collect the yield and only.
Yep.
But
yeah,
I don't know why they would knock
take on
it.
a second job. That's the thing, is if you're already working full time, and then maybe you have a family and kids at home or something, you're not trying to work. When people are like, I think I'm going to get into wholesaling, I'm like, are you? There's 0% of wholesaling that's an investment. It's 100% a job, which is cool. It's a great job. It teaches you a ton, but it is a job. At least like flipping and rehabbing, it's kind of halvesies. There's some investment component. There's some work component. You're kind of mixing it up. Wholesaling, no investment component whatsoever. It's a job. And so I'm like, oh, so you're already working 90 hours a week. You have a family and kids, and now you're going to take on wholesaling? Like, do you really know? Okay, cool.
Yeah. It's like, it's a whole nother business, definitely.
A whole nother business.
Yeah.
So yeah, turnkeys do appeal to the people that, and I have the time. I just don't want to do it. I'm not interested. So it's, I'll pay market value all day long. I've gotten great returns on my turnkeys, but yeah, I could make more if I go do the work myself, but then I'm just getting paid to work and I don't want to.
No. Yeah. That's one thing I discovered real quick is not only do not want to be working on these houses, is I can't be working on these houses to scale. So
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Oh, I'm excited for all your systems and all that. I know with flipping, like when you get the systems going, I mean, you can essentially start running a flipping empire. It's so freaking cool.
Yep. Yeah, I kind of got it down. I've got the crew that I call every time on every single house. I can trust him. He doesn't ask for money right away. He goes and gets equipment or supplies when we run low, or he needs an extra thing of paint or whatever. He handles it all, and then he just sends me the receipts at the end. So I've thankfully gotten that. But mostly what I have systemized was on my first house, not only was I going to the house for 10, 12, 14, 16-hour days, I was also coming home, making sure my letters got out, my postcards got out. I built new lists and all those other things.
Yeah.
But now I've got virtual assistants in the Philippines that all day they're sending out my mailers daily. They're doing cold call, texting, ringless voicemails, emails. They're doing all of it. So now I just manage. I'm not to a point where I can get a project manager yet, which would be cool. Because then I would be pretty much hands free, aside from say an acquisitions and a dispositions guy.
Yeah.
But right around the corner. But I travel is
awesome. I'm so pumped to hear all that. You know what I love about how you describe that is, like, when I'm teaching people about building a business, I try and teach it just like you just described it. Like when I started my company, I did everything myself, all the emails, the website design, which I never should have done that. That was bad.
Right.
Everything, 100% of everything I did. And as I kept going, because I feel like you have to do that when you start a business, is you have to do everything to start figuring out what you need to keep doing versus what you can start outsourcing. Then it's a matter of, oh, this one thing that I keep doing, it's taking up a lot of my time and it would be easy to hire out. Let me do that. And I hired one person, and then I kept going. I'm like, this thing is kind of holding me back. That's kind of messing me up. I bet someone could do it faster. Let me hire that thing out. And just like you're describing, is when you start doing it piece by piece, that, in my opinion, is what builds the most solid foundation for a solid business. Because a lot of people get into it and they're like, oh, well, I want to outsource my flipping business. And they start doing it like that. Well, you don't even barely know what you're outsourcing at that point, and it's so shaky that it just ends up crumbling. But when you do it just like you're talking about, piece by piece, you're doing it. Like, that's happening. That's awesome.
Well, you discover what you're good at and, like you said, what you're bad at. And so
that's the big thing.
And what's worth taking under time. So like when I finally, people have been telling me to start this podcast forever. So when I finally did it, I knew that a lot of video and a lot of audio editing was required. But I was like, man, I don't want to learn it. It's going to take me months, and then I got to do it. It's going to take another 10
Yep.
hours a week. And so from day one, I made sure I had my VAs first. I knew how to edit audio and edit the video. And so now the only time that this podcast takes up of my time is these interviews. So an hour every other day or two, something like that. And then the second I get off here, it's 5 minutes sending an email out. And then from there on out, he edits the audio, he edits the video, he does the importing. And so outsourcing has been one of the most blessed things I've done in my business since the beginning. I mean,
that's my number one preaching is outsourcing. Like that is how you get passive income. That is how you get lifestyle design. Like truly outsourcing is a ticket to freedom. And it's such a, I don't know if counterintuitive or catch-22 thing, but like entrepreneurs, we're typically so capable that we think we can do everything ourselves and we want to do everything ourselves and it's not going to get done and whatever, but you have to. Like if you start the business, you're just going to work yourself into a job. You're going to work yourself harder than you were when you were a worker if you don't outsource. And what I've learned in my business, I love what you said too, is that when I was doing everything, I figured out where my strengths were and I figured out where my weaknesses were. And I hired out my weaknesses. And the way that I have everyone strategically hired, they are so much smarter in their particular arena than I am. While entrepreneurs want to think that they're better, they'll do it better themselves. Not always. Like there's some things I'm so bad at, it would never happen if I didn't have people to do it.
Yep.
And like I said earlier, I'm starting to write a book. The reason I've started about 4 books, and the reason I never finished them was I had zero interest whatsoever. Like you had zero interest in learning how to edit the videos and all that. I have never been interested in learning the publishing process. So it's like, oh, well, even if I finish this book, what am I going to do with it? And now I found a team of people who are going to take care of all that for me. And I'm like, oh, now I can get back to what I'm good at is just writing. Like that's my thing.
Right.
So like you get to just do the video. I just have to do the writing. They get to do all the hard stuff that I hate because number one, I wasn't going to do it anyways. And second, even if I did, I'd probably end up hating my own book. So it's like find the people and strengthen your own strengths and then piece out everything else. Empire. Like you can absolutely build an empire like that and live the life that you want to, just doing the things you like doing.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that the most successful entrepreneurs out there surround themselves with people that are smarter than themselves.
Yep.
And I mean, even if I wanted to spend the time to learn audio and I thought it was cool, probably wouldn't be the best at it. Might as well just pay somebody else to do a better job. Same, everything. I mean, all my marketing.
Like me with flipping houses. Like I think it'd be really fun, but because it's not my strong suit, I want to wait to do it until I'm in a position to do it for fun. Yeah. Like if I'm trying to make a business out of it, it's going to stress me out. It's going to be whatever. But if I can just go do it as like a adventure kind of thing, cool. But like audio, the things, it's just, not forcing anyone's hand. And, it's really ego has to take a back seat. Like, I'm really smart in a lot of arenas. I'm not very smart in some other ones. And if I can just fess up to what those are, hire someone to do it. So many people are stuck in the ego side of it. Like, oh no, I'm good at everything. I'm like, are you? Like even the smartest person isn't good at everything. The biggest names in success and entrepreneurs and real estate investors, whatever, they piece it out. They don't do it all themselves ever. Not once.
It's not possible.
Yeah.
It's quite impossible.
Might as well start hiring out now.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been thinking about it a lot lately. I need to start getting more people, but okie dokie. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Just like any other podcast I have, once we dive into one subject, anything in an investing side could take months to talk about. So, without taking too much of your time, because both of our times are valuable, but if anybody wants to reach out to you, what's the best way? So we've talked about Bigger Pockets, no Facebook.
I know.
you have a blog or Instagram or anything like that?
Well, the easiest way, if you want to just email me directly, it's Ali, ALI, at hipsterinvestments.com. You can always check out Hipster's site, hipsterinvestments.com. If you reach out on the contact page, Melissa will probably respond to you. But, wherever you reach out, tell me that you found me via Brandon's podcast, and I'll give him some props. And then I'm on Instagram and Twitter. So if you go to Hipster's site, you'll start seeing the social links. But you can always email me directly.
Cool. And it's Hipster Investments with an
Yep.
S, plural? Okay. Sweet. And then I ask everybody the same question at the very end. If you had 6 months to live, what would you do with it? But I think I already know your answer, but go for it.
Ooh. What do you think my answer is?
Well, you're already living the lifestyle freedom. So most people are like, well, I'd make my systems. I would build more systems to automate and spend time with family and stuff. But you're kind of already there. But I'm still interested to see what you'd be.
6 months. I would really, as little. I mean, I work quite a bit. I would toss all work out the window. I would just all the time just go do anything and everything. And it is a hard answer for me because, I've really set my life up where I just enjoy it like it is. It's not an event or a outcome that I'm trying to get to. So I'm here.
Yeah.
But I would really maximize my relationships with people. Just everything that I already love doing, I would go do more of it.
Yep. Perfect.
Yeah.
It all goes back to the freedom. And
freedom is my why. Why I've done everything in my life is for freedom. I've wanted it since I was a kid. And it really, there's just so much power in it. Like to really claim your own and be yourself and have the freedom to be yourself and have the freedom to learn about yourself. Like I thought I was a certain thing before all of this. I'm so different than I thought I was. But I've been able to give myself the freedom to explore that and find what I really like and find who I really am and just find the good things in life. And I don't think you can beat it.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. Again, that's why I named the podcast what it is.
Yep. I love it. Yeah. When I saw the name out, I was like, oh yeah, this will work out well.
Right. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom, knowledge, and everything turnkey. And living lifestyle by design. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll put the email down in the show description there, and they can reach out to you if they have any questions.
Cool. And I want to keep me posted on how your business empire building goes. I'm so interested in it. There's so few people I hear building their business like that, and it's my number one preference on how a business gets built. So I look forward to hearing the updates.
Yeah, no, I will. Next move is to hire acquisitions and then project manager, and then pretty much I'll be out of the business. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Nice. And send pictures from the cruises.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, they're all over Facebook and Instagram. So I'll find you on Instagram so you can follow.
We'll do Instagram for sure.
Cool. All righty. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.